Astros owner and chairman Jim Crane introduced Reid Ryan as the Astros' new president of business operations. Reid brings enthusiasm and energy to the Astros, as well as years of experience in working in professional baseball. During the 1980s, Ryan was a bat boy for the Astros, while his father and Hall of Famer Nolan was an all-star pitcher. He later pitched in the minor leagues for 2 seasons and in the Ranger system, and after being selected in the draft in 1994. Prior to joining the Astros, though, Reid was the president and CEO of Ryan Sanders Baseball and founder and CEO of both the Corpus Christi Hooks and the Round Rock Express minor league franchises. Corpus is an affiliate of the Astros, and Round Rock is an affiliate of the Texas Rangers. Respected member of minor league baseball's leadership group, Reid served on the board of trustees of minor league baseball, the executive committee of the Pacific Coast League, and board of trustees of Baseball Internet Rights Company. He's involved in many business adventures, real estate, banking, restaurant industry. He's a board member of Fired Up, the parent company of Carino's Italian Grill, was a director and organizer of R Bank, a community bank in Round Rock, and a partner behind the Texas expansion of the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. Reid and his wife Nicole are the proud parents of one son, 12-year-old Jackson, who I understand is also going to be another great Ryan pitcher, and 2 daughters, 10-year-old Victoria and 7-year-old Ella. They live in Memorial in Houston. But you know, the one thing about that's the statistical things about Reid. That the one thing you're going to learn about Reid Ryan is if you want to learn about customer service and how customer service works or should work, follow Reid Ryan around or follow anybody that works for him around. I was never so impressed with seeing how at the Round Rock Express the customer service capabilities of that staff. When you would go to a ball game, they were out there shaking your hand, welcoming you, telling you thank you for coming to the ball game. And Reid's doing the same thing at the Astros right now. You know, they brainwash people too, because I had my grandson would come over and go to a lot of baseball games with me, Colson, and he just loved to come to the baseball games, and it was the highlight of his week when he would come. But when he got to be about 4, I decided, okay, now it's time to indoctrinate him into A&M. And so I took him to the A&M spring football game. And we walked into the game and finally got seated, and Colson sits around, he looks up at me and he says, "Pops, where's Spike?" I said, well, Spike's the Round Rock Express mascot. We have the A&M Yell Leaders here today. Okay. Sits there for a few more minutes, and he says, "Pops, when's the fireworks?" Well, there's not going to be any fireworks today, Colson. There's the Aggie band's going to play, and so we're going to get to see the Aggie band. So, okay. Sat there a few more minutes. He looked up and said, "Pops, I'm ready to go." Well, Reid rewarded him. My last day in Round Rock, Reid called me to come out and asked me to come out and throw out the first pitch. And I said, well, you know, I'd really rather my grandson do it. So we did. He had my grandson Colson throw out the first pitch. And we left that night after Colson had 2 or 3 baseballs. And he said, "Pops," he says, "I want to do this again next year." So, but Reid is you're going to see wonderful things out of the Houston Astros. I can't think how they could have made a better choice for president of the Houston Astros. And Reid Ryan, come talk to us.
Thank you, Charlie. Charlie just stole my story. That's what I was going to open with today, since he had his Aggie tie on. But great guy. You guys are so blessed. I was so excited when Charlie reached out to me when I first got here to Houston to let me know he was up here. And I thought they would have run you out of town by now, man. That's awesome. Congrats. No. But it is so good to be back in Houston. It's so great to be back with the Houston Astros organization. I grew up in this area. My dad's Nolan Ryan, and he pitched here from 1980 through 1988. And so I was born in the city and grew up in Alvin, went to Alvin High School. And being able to be a part of the Astros as a kid, it's my team. You know, it was my team during my formative years. I was there in 1980 for that first ever playoff game, in 81 when we had the strike year and had to go to the one-game playoff with the Dodgers, in 86, and got to have this great group of individuals who weren't just wonderful ball players, but they were great people, the Craig Reynolds of the world, the Terry Pools, the Jose Cruzes, you know, Enos Cabells, and those were the guys that I grew up with. And so when Jim Crane called me and made this offer to me to come back to Houston and to be the president of the Houston Astros, you know, I wasn't really looking to make a move. Life was going pretty good for me there in the Austin area, and we had done a lot of fun things, but I really felt like that I had to take this opportunity because it's been hard to watch sort of the club over the last couple of years, and I really want to be a part of bringing it back. So it's personal with me, and when I walked into the organization, it's funny how memories come back to you as a kid or parts of your life. And so when we first came to the Astros, my dad had been with the California Angels. We had a guy named Billy Joe Bowman. Does anybody here know Billy Joe Bowman at all? All right. He used to be the guy, you'd see him on TV with a radar gun for years, back before they sold all that area for seats, and he was what my dad always described as an independently wealthy businessman. So I don't know exactly what he did, but he had his own company, but he came to every game, volunteered his time, would do the radar gun, he'd throw batting practice, he went on the road with the team. I was like, this is the greatest gig in the world. This guy goes with us everywhere. But Billy Joe liked to drink a little bit, and sometimes he liked to drink a lot. And so my dad took Don Sanders, who's our partner, son, Brad and I, on a road trip to Los Angeles. I'll never forget this. I was probably 10 years old, and Brad and I had our own room. We're at this fancy hotel in LA, and we're watching TV, about ready to go to bed, and we hear this. So I go over and look at the little people, and it's like, hey, it's Billy Joe. Okay, well, he opens the door. What are y'all doing in my room? He grabbed us, kicked us out in the hall, and shut the door. It wasn't his room, it was our room. Now we're out in the hall. We're like, what in the world do we do now, So when I got this job, that was the first memory that came back to my head. Why, I don't know, but I thought I would share that with you guys today. But, baseball's about having fun. And that's one of the things that I want to do is bring the fun back to Minute Maid Park. And, of course, when you come from a baseball family, and baseball's giving you everything you have, you treat it a little bit differently than somebody that's just in it, for the dollar or in it for the business. And people, wherever I go, talk. They always want to hear a Nolan Ryan story. And I love it when people come up to me and go, man, we love seeing your dad play, or we love that team in 80 or 86 or whatever. But my favorite Nolan Ryan story happened at a barbecue restaurant just south of the Astrodome. And we had the same routine. We'd leave Alvin normally, little after lunchtime, although when you're a ball player, you're on a little bit different schedule. And we would drive up, and we'd normally stop at this barbecue restaurant on days that he wasn't pitching. We'd eat, and we'd go over for batting practice. And this one day, we had this guy with us named Larry Phillips, and he was a friend of my dad's down in Allen. So the three of us go to the barbecue restaurant. We're talking about the day's events or the game coming up or whatever, and I'm probably 12 years old. And when you're with somebody famous, you get real used to somebody kind of looking over your shoulder or always wanting to come up and take a picture or ask for an autograph. And so we started to have that sense of, hey, these ladies are looking at us over here. And they kept looking, and we'd look, and they put their head down real quick. And so finally, here it comes. They get up, they come over, and they got their camera. And they come over, they go, excuse me. And of course, we're waiting to say, would you like an autograph? They go, do you mind if we take a picture? And my dad's like, no, go ahead. So we scoot back, and he stands up, and the lady goes, great, we're from Wisconsin, and we've never seen onion rings this big. And they went down, took a photo of the onion rings right there. And when they left, my dad said, remember, don't ever get too big for your britches. To bite you. But, I'm the one guy that kind of walking into this job, I feel like I know the past. I know the history of the Houston Astros. It's part of me and who I am. I know the present because I've watched this organization. I've owned their AA club since 1998 with my dad and Don Sanders and some other people, and so we've been involved with this organization. We're there in 05 in the World Series. We're in the clubhouse, and we know what's happened. But also, I know the future because with these guys coming up through the system, I know the trades and some of the things that we've done. And so when the offer was there, I had to jump at it, and I feel like sky's the limit. Now, this year has been a tough year. And people on the outside that aren't in the office with us every day, that aren't with the team every day, they're going to go, what's going on with you guys? And I tell everybody, you know what? It's the worst of times, but it's the best of times. We're going to lose 100 games this year. Third year in a row, we're going to lose 100 games. Hasn't happened since the Mets in the early 60s when they were an expansion team, and it may have only happened one time before that. I know we're not on TV in a lot of places, and I get that every other day. It seems like that people are upset about that. And I feel for them because my friends in Alabama are upset about that. But when you see someone win a championship and you see that team dogpile each other, or you've been in that locker room where guys are spraying champagne and they're going nuts, they're excited that they're the best team in their league, or their division, or their sport. But what they're really excited about is that to get to that point, it's like a volcano exploding. It's all the trials and the hard times and the work that's been put into it year after year after year. It's really what they're celebrating. It's the kinship, the bonding that these guys had along the way. And so when I tell people, yeah, we've had some tough times, but there's some good times coming, that's what keeps me going. It's knowing that when we finally get to celebrate that championship, it will have been earned. And nothing that's worthwhile is given to you, it's earned. And so when I tell people, hey, you know what, on the outside, this has been a tough year, but on the inside, this is a great year. They say, well, what do you mean? You're crazy. And I say, well, look, here's what we're working with. We have the youngest major league team in all of baseball. This team really should probably be in AAA, but they've been forced into service, and you know what? They're learning on the job, and that's going to pay off big dividends. You look at our rotation, it's the youngest in baseball. All our starters, now we shut down Cozart because he's kind of hit an innings limit for this year, but have all been under 25 years of age. Two guys in Overholzer and Cozart have really established themselves as, the potential to be premier pitchers in Major League Baseball. Cozart was limited by innings, but he has the second best ERA behind Clayton Kershaw with the Dodgers. And for having a young guy that's 22, 23 years old, that's really, really exciting. You look at our infield. Early in the year, Jeff Luno and the guys, they brought in some guys like Carlos Pena and Ankiel and a couple of guys that didn't really work out. And when we kind of ripped that Band-Aid off and went young, you see Jonathan Villar. This guy's got speed, he's got power, he can hit. He stole home his first week in the big leagues. He brought energy to the team. You look over at Matt Dominguez at third. He's having a breakout year. He was a first-round pick with the Marlins. We locked Altuve up in a long-term contract. And you start looking at that infield and saying, wow, these guys really have got the makings of something that's going to be good. And then, for me, the final pieces of the puzzle, although somewhat publicly tough, we're trading guys like Bud Norris and Maxwell and a few of these guys. There's nobody left to trade now. We've traded out, and we've got some super prospects for these guys. We got this kid, Josh Hader, who's a left-handed pitcher that's 96 to 98 miles an hour that was in the minor leagues and won a championship with us this year. And we got a kid named Andy Vasquez from Detroit, the Ferris trade, who's got serious power and is a big-time prospect. So we sort of have done all that there is to do to break it down. And now it's time to start going the other way. And I had a meeting with our staff the other day because there's been some negative PR this year. Water's wet, there's negative PR around the Astros. It's been a tough year that way. But I told everybody, I said, we're about a week away from, nobody taking shots at the Astros anymore. Because we're going to come out with being one of the top-rated minor league systems in all of baseball. And you say, what are the things that we can measure the Astros by besides their major league on-field record? What are tangible things that we can touch and feel and say, is the club going in the right direction? Well, first, we had the most wins of all the combined minor league teams. And in the minor leagues, we have 7 teams in the U.S. Out of those 7, the lowest one plays at our spring training facility. They play at noon in a stadium that has no stands. The kids are out of the Dominican Republic and Venezuela. They're 16, 17 years old. Nobody comes and watches them. And they get Sundays off. So besides those guys, the other 6 teams where they sell tickets, fans come, and they play under lights, all 6 of those teams made the playoffs. That hasn't happened, and we can't find anybody that knows the last time it happened. And out of those 6 teams, we won 2 championships. Our team in Tri-Cities, which is up in New York, our team in Quad Cities, which is up in the Midwest. And then our AAA team got beat by the eventual champ. Our AA team got beat in 5-game series by the eventual champ. Our Lancaster team lost in the championship. They actually had the bases loaded in extra innings twice with no outs and didn't score and ended up losing. But they were still there at the final game. And then our Greenville club got to the championship and lost in a deciding series. Those are things that you can touch and feel. We're going to be pretty quickly somewhere around the winter meetings. We're going to come out as one of the top 5 rated minor league systems, if not number 1. And I feel like we're going to be number 1 in one or two of these polls. There's a couple of rating systems. A couple of years ago, when Jim Crane took over the club, we were like 28. And in 2 years, we're going to be close to, if not number 1. Those are things that matter. And so I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about where we're going. The 2014 season, what I've been telling people, and we're in renewals with our season tickets now. We have fans out of the ballpark that I discuss this with every night. I say, hey, look, don't quit us now. Don't be the guy that sells his stock right before it takes off. I mean, you don't want to, you work so hard to get up to these seats that are so close to the field. Don't give them up right before we have a breakout year. And so what I see us doing this offseason is really trying to complement these young guys with a couple of free agents. I see Jim spending some money this offseason and going out and trying to get maybe one really seasoned starting pitcher that not only can give us some innings but can help mentor these young guys. We need probably a first baseman, combo DH. We've got a couple of guys that hit a lot of home runs, but they strike out quite a bit over there. So maybe solidify that. Maybe a couple relievers. We lost a lot of games late this year, and those are heartbreaking losses, but we're going to be in the position to win those games again next year and try to shore that up. And then maybe one outfielder, in case this kid we got in AAA that's going to be coming up doesn't work out, we're going to be ready to go. So I think next year is going to be a big year for the Astros. I'm banking my credibility on it. I'm banking that I would move my family up and come down here, and if I didn't feel like there was something worth getting behind, I wouldn't have done it. So, really that's all I can say about the club. We got 5 games left. It is Lake Houston night tonight. If you want to come out, Matt's here, and we'd love to have you guys come out. But if you haven't been out to Minute Maid this year, we've done some fun things. When I got there, I sort of told everybody, look, guys, let's have fun. Let's have a good time. Let's create an atmosphere that is enjoyable to be at, whether we're winning or losing. And then if we're winning, let's create a home field advantage. So I think one of the things you'll see is in games that are getting later, we want to have the ability to help our team close those out with a home field advantage. And that's getting the crowd behind us and doing some things with the assets we have inside the facility that are going to be a lot of fun. But I'll leave you guys with this. I have this one season ticket holder with the Astros, a great guy named Ronald Branch. And Ronald is a guy that's in the outfield, and he thinks he's sneaky, but we got him figured out. He brings a bag with him every night, and he's got balls in it. And so whenever a home run ball is hit into right field, and you see the fans throw it back, it's not the real ball. He pulls one out. It's like plastic, and they throw it back so the fans cheer, but he keeps the expensive Major League Baseball stuff. But Ronald also has this big K sign that he has lights in it. Have y'all ever seen that before? And he holds it up when somebody strikes out, and he's got batteries. It's a homemade jobby thing that he holds up, and it flashes. But anyway, I gave him my cell phone. I don't know if that was a good move or a bad move, but I gave him my cell phone, so now he texts me all the time. And after the game last night, we lost, and we're playing the Reds, and for us, we got a pretty tough road here. We got all playoff teams here on out. We're finishing up with the Reds, and we're going to go play Cleveland and the Rangers, and we're going to come back and we have 3 games against the Yankees we're going to finish up with. But he just said, hey, Reid, how can you stay calm, and smile after a game like the one we had last night? And I said, well, Ronald, it's because I've already seen the present that's wrapped up that you're getting ready to open next year, and I know what's in it. And so he was very excited to hear that, and that's the way I feel about it. So I hope to have you guys come out this year for Lake Houston night or catch us the final Yankee series of the year. We're blessed that we're going to get to have Mariano Rivera's last games ever. And depending on what happens with this steroid deal, maybe A-Rod's last games ever. So that'll be interesting to come out and see him. And who knows with Pettit, they may be his last games ever too. So hopefully you guys will come out that last weekend in September. But Charlie, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and come see us.
As good Baptists do, they always set the preacher at the back of the church to shake your hand. We're going to set Matt Ritchie over here at the table, and he'll sell you a ticket. Or 2, or 4, or 10, But Matt, where are you? There's Matt right there, and he's gonna be standing over here at this table, and he'll help you, get tickets for tonight's ball game. It's Lake Houston tonight. This was kind of a last minute thing, but next year we're gonna have a full-fledged one. We're gonna come see the new Astros next year, and, but we've got a night tonight, and if anybody can come, we'd love to see you at the ballpark.
Wow, and those that weren't believers in the Astros before sure must be by now with this fabulous talk. So thank you for such an inspiring insight into what it's been like on the journey to what you're doing now. I think all of us can understand too, starting from scratch and recognizing potential and building something really good. So thank you very much, Mr. Ryan, and on behalf of all of us here, please accept this token for our appreciation for being with us this afternoon. Thank you.